It's a new month, which means it's time for the monthly reading wrap up, aka every single book I read in August. August was my birthday month, in case you didn't know. I don't know why you would know, but yeah. And I got a bit of reading done. I read 13 books this month. That is a lot. Overall, this reading month was pretty good. Like, I'm not against it. I actually, for the first time in ages, I have a couple paperbacks. I have 3 paperbacks. This is like never been done before. I'm gonna just jump straight into the first one I read in August, and that is Misconduct by Penelope Douglas. I think now I've read all of Penelope Douglas's standalone novels, which is fun. I'll have to like double check my facts on that, but I'm pretty sure I've read all of their standalones. So I might do a video of me ranking them all. I think there's only 5. So Misconduct, I liked this book. This was a good book to start the month with. I don't know the names. I'm like really bad at names in books. I'm so sorry. This book is following this girl who is a teacher. I don't know if it's high school or middle school. I'm gonna assume it's a high school, but I don't know. But it's a romance between her and one of her students' dads. I'm like trying to mess with the lighting. This is really dark. Oh my god. This is a student's dad's romance, which is kind of fun. I'm pretty sure the dad, or like the guy, the romantic male, the hero, is like campaigning to be like the mayor of this town that they live in, something like that. He's also a pretty like terrible father. He kind of like neglects his son sometimes. Like there's a little bit of a storyline with that. He like focuses too much on work and less on parenting, you know, that kind of storyline. Penelope Douglas's writing has like, I'd say improved, but I know some people don't like their writing style. I like their writing style in their independently published books more than these traditionally published ones. I think they've improved a lot more. They've grown into their own writing style. Okay, the next 2 books I'm so excited to talk about. I'm going to talk about them one at a time, but the next book that I read was Daisy Hates by Jessa Hastings. This is book 2 in the Magnolia Parks universe, but it follows 2 different characters that you meet in the first Magnolia Parks book, aka Daisy and Christian. I absolutely love this book. Not as much as Magnolia Parks. Magnolia Parks is like 6 stars perfection. This one I gave 4 stars. It takes a little bit of time to get into her writing style. For example, we like jump into flashbacks really fluidly in the story, that there's like times where you don't know if we're talking about the past or the present, but like you can use context clues to figure it out. Daisy is like part of a crime family, and by family I mean her brother. I don't know how to like actually explain this book. There is absolutely no synopsis on the back. This book isn't as toxic as Magnolia Parks, but still, it still has like toxicity in it, so be prepared for that, because I know people go into Magnolia Parks not knowing it's a toxic relationship, which I'm kind of judging you for that because everyone tells you it's toxic. Anyways, I'm telling you now, toxic relationship right here. This is the first of Daisy and Christian's books. They're getting 4. Magnolia and BJ get 3, and 2 of them are already out. That means it's nearly over, but these 2 are getting 4 books, and this is the first one, and it's the only one out currently. I think the next one comes out in like December. Most people, I think, prefer this book to Magnolia Parks because it's a more healthy relationship, but like it's still kind of toxic, still back and forth. There's still like not necessarily love triangle, because you know that like Daisy and Christian are like kind of endgame. Lots of barriers of different people who come and like break them up, and it is frustrating, but all of Jessa Hastings' books have been frustrating, so you kind of just get used to it. Talking more about this book specifically, I did like it. It was enjoyable. I thought some parts of it kind of dragged for a little, and that's why I gave it 4 stars. I also really didn't like, there are certain quirks about the characters in Jessa Hastings' books that I really don't like. For example, Magnolia mentions like every single item of clothing ever that gets old quick. In this book, because Daisy is like smart university student, she's like studying to be a doctor, in her chapters they have footnotes, and the footnotes really annoyed me because I read this book on my phone and I bought the paperback later. It's kind of a pain if I want to switch between pages to read the footnotes as I'm reading, and I just didn't want to do that. The footnotes pissed me off, so I just didn't read them. Sorry. The next book I read, I kind of already mentioned, the second Magnolia Parks book. This is The Long Way Home. This cover I think is absolutely incredible. I don't really understand the significance of this cover to the story, like why it's a boat. There are little bits in it that I understand, like here you can see there's New York, but like why it's a shape on water. There's probably like a reasonable explanation, I just don't know. This is Magnolia and BJ's second book. I was so excited to get to this one after how the first book ended. I'm pointing here because my book is on my shelf, which is right there. I love this book honestly just as much as the first Magnolia Parks book. 5 stars, one of my faves of all time. I can't decide which one I like more, this one or the first Magnolia Parks book, because they're both just so amazing. It's these characters. I love Magnolia and BJ so much. This book is so frustrating. I think this book is more frustrating than book 1. I literally wanted to throw this book across the room. All the time when I'm reading this book, I'm like, just tell each other how you feel, and then they tell each other how they feel, and they still don't work their out. And I'm just like, guys, come on. Also, the back, if you know, you know. I want to read this quote to you that's on the back. It kind of encompasses Magnolia Park's universe, or at least Magnolia and BJ's relationship. So it says, I'll wear it like a badge of honor forever that he loved me first, that he loved me at all. Have you ever had a love like that? These two just love each other too much. They love each other more than they love themselves, and that's the issue with their relationship. Okay, moving on. The next book I read, after I read Daisy Hayes, I was like, I need something quick, and I decided to choose Burnout by Coralie June. This book has been on my TBR for ages, and it's always been branded as a dark high school romance. I can tell you now, it's not dark. It's not a dark romance at all. Like, I was kind of excited. I was like, ooh, like, what's the tea? But it is a high school romance. This is technically teacher-student, so be aware of that. But I'm pretty sure the heroine is 18. This is about this girl who, again, I'm terrible with names, used to live with her mum, but her mum's, like, not really that great. So she ends up moving in with her brother, who I'm pretty sure got adopted at some point, and that's why they've not known each other that well. And he has a roommate, and that is who the romance is between. It's between the girl and her brother's roommate. So it's like brother's best friend, and it's student teacher, and it's forced proximity. So I was like, ooh, it's giving tropes. It's giving tropes right now. I didn't really like this book. I thought, number one, I went into this expecting a high school dark romance, and I got a high school romance with no darkness to it. So I was like, okay. I also just didn't like the guy. No particular reason. He just kind of rubbed me up the wrong way. I'm not against high school student teacher romances. It's fiction. Before anyone comes for me, it's fiction. It's fake. I know the difference between fiction and reality, and just because I want to read something in a fictional world does not mean that I tolerate it IRL. Anyways, this book was kind of average. No particular reason as to why I did like it. I just didn't. Like, I'm sorry, that's a really bad explanation. Guys, you don't come here for reviews. You come here because I like to talk about books and you want to listen. That's it. Okay, afterwards I read another book that I really enjoyed, and it is called P.S. I Loathe You by Isla Olsen. I mentioned this book in my last video, I'm pretty sure. If you like this book, you'll love this book. I mentioned this book in that video because it's just so good. Oh, I love it. This is an romance, and it's got the trope of we talk to each other online, we know each other IRL, but we don't know that the person that we're talking to online is the person that we know IRL. Thank you. It's also enemies to lovers. It's also enemies with benefits. In this book, we are following Wes and Devon. Devon is planning on getting married to Wes's sister. Devon and Wes's sister are having a bit of like a rocky relationship. It's like a case of they're not prioritizing each other. Wes's sister ends up writing an email to one of those anonymous newspaper relationship advice columns detailing her issues with the relationship. Devon ends up finding out because Devon ends up checking her emails. Weird. Red flag energy. Red flag energy. The person who runs this newspaper column is Wes's friend. So Wes ends up seeing all these email exchanges, and he's like, girl, I need to give Devon a piece of my mind. But obviously it's like all anonymous emails and shit. So like, we don't know who we're talking to, but it's Wes and Devon talking to each other, basically beefing with each other because Devon was kind of being a bit to Wes's friend. Am I making any sort of sense? That's the meet cute. Not really meet cute, but that's like the interaction cute, if you will. But they also like just don't like each other IRL, and I don't know why. This book was fun, short chapters, and a very quick read. I read like the bulk of this book in one evening, and I had to stop because I got tired. Next book I read was If You Had Been With Me by Lauren Nolan. Is it Nowlin or Nolan? And I really hate to be the one to say this, but I didn't like it. It's the way that the book was written. I didn't realise it was written like that. This book is sad, but you know what's going to happen the entire time because it is mentioned in the prologue. And I think the point of it is you're supposed to get attached to these characters, and then something sad happens and you start crying. I didn't cry, but I did get upset. Since all of that is basically being told to you right at the beginning, the rest of the book is all told in like retrospects. I didn't like the style that it was written in. If I had to give this book a trope, it's friends to lovers, but it's also right person, wrong time. It's also set in high school, by the way. I didn't like how this book was set in retrospect, and it kind of just felt like I was waiting to get to the end. Everything was filler apart from the ending, even though the ending was right at the beginning and I knew it was coming the entire time. Definitely check trigger warnings for this book. Also, there is cheating in this book. Next one I read, very out of my comfort zone. You know me, I only read romance. But I read I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. Jeanette McCurdy, if you don't know, was a child actor on Nickelodeon. I like Jeanette McCurdy as a person, and I wanted to read what she had to say about her life. Trigger warning, this book deals very in detail with eating disorders, specifically anorexia and bulimia. As someone who like doesn't read memoirs, I don't really read non-fiction, I just think this was written so perfectly well. It tells her entire life story from when she was a child, and each stage, like ages in her life, was written in her perspective of being that age. You don't understand everything as a child. It was very eye-opening, and I learned a lot from it. The next book I read was Husband Material by Alexis Hall. Last month I read Boyfriend Material and I loved it. This month I read Husband Material and I thought it was really bad. This book wasn't needed. It wasn't needed at all. It was a bad sequel. I'm mad because I really liked Boyfriend boyfriend material. This is a sequel, so we're still following Luke and Oliver. This one just like follows like different people's weddings. There was also like a reoccurring conflict in this book between the two characters, which I thought was really stupid. Which, to be fair, this entire book, like the humour in this book is kind of stupid. It was bad, and I feel like this book was just written because people wanted more. I feel like this book was written because boyfriend material did well. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, and if it is broke, go get rid of it, And we're getting 2 more books in this series. One of them is following a different couple, and then we're getting another one called like Father Material. I don't know if I'm gonna read it. Sticking with the MM romance grind, I read Wicked Lies Boys Tell by K. Webster. This book was an in-between book, just short, quick. I just got through it. This is friends to enemies to lovers, high school romance, MM romance. It's pretty good, kind of forgettable, but we're following these 2 boys, used to be best friends, and then something happened that like made them become enemies, and now they like don't like each other, but they still go to school and they still have to see each other and shit like that. I don't really want to describe anything else that happens in this book because I don't think I need to. After that, I read a very anticipated book, not necessarily for me, but like this book was very anticipated for, I guess, like most of the book community or most of the romance community, and that's Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood. Of course I picked up this book. It's the title of a Rihanna song. Must be Love on the Brain that's got me feeling this way. This book is in first person, which massive improvement. The Love Hypothesis is in third person, single POV, but it's in first person. Appreciate that. This book is way too similar to The Love Hypothesis in my opinion. I am sorry, and I really like The Love Hypothesis, but if I wanted to read it again, I would read it again. Now, this book was good. This book objectively was pretty fine. It was giving what an average okay book would give, and that is fine. If that is what I'm craving, it's fine. Here's my thing. I don't particularly read illustrated cover traditionally published romances anymore. I call them rom-coms, but sometimes they're actually like not romantic comedies, so I just call them illustrated cover romances or like illustrated cover traditionally published romances, and you get the vibes because they're all like very similar vibes. I don't read much of those anymore. I used to, and then I discovered the world of indie published, and I don't read these anymore that often. I just read the authors that I've already read and like. Part of the reason why I don't like these books anymore is because they either have like a mysterious subplot that is so obvious. This book had that. I don't want to say because you've not read it, but like when you read it, you know it's so obvious. We had this in The Love Hypothesis as well, in like the prologue. We've got like whatever this is with like the little texting thing that's going on. Like, oh my god, it's so obvious, but it gets revealed as if it's this massive revelation. Stupid waste of time. Sorry about it. In these books, there's always like this really extra like conflict or like extra, it's not conflict, but it's just like this extra revelation, and by extra I mean like over the top revelation and like action that happens right at the end, and that's what happened in this book as well. It just came out of left field. It was stupid. I'm so sorry. So apart from that, the book was okay, but also adding to the negative, this book is way too similar to The Love Hypothesis to be its own book. I know that Ali Hazelwood has a women in STEM thing going on. Love that for her. You can still do that and have it be different, but this book, Grumpy Sunshine, the hero is big. Oh my god, his shoulders are so broad. He is so tall. He is big. Ali Hazelwood wants you to know this guy is big. Like, you think you know what a big guy looks like? You haven't met Levi. He also has the greenest eyes ever. You do not know what the colour green is until you've seen his eyes. When you see his eyes, you will realise that the colour green that you know that is green is like completely different to what the definition of the colour green is, because the colour green is Levi Ward's eyes. Okay? He's also the definition of big. You thought that Adam Carlson was big. You were told every other page how big Adam Carlson is. You were told how grumpy Adam Carlson is. You were told all of that shit. But none of that is true because Levi invented big. Levi invented grumpy. Levi invented all of this, and Ali Hazelwood wants you to know that. She wants you to know that so bad that every single chapter it is shoved down your throat, and I hate it. I hate it so much. One of my issues with The Love Hypothesis was the way that him being big and grumpy was shoved down my throat, and she keeps doing it. I feel like loads of people complained about that in The Love Hypothesis. Why are we still doing it? I can look past it. I can, and I did. Apart from that, the book was fine. If you like The Love Hypothesis and you're intrigued to reread The Love Hypothesis but in a different font, read Love on the Brain. I also really like the title, not only because it's an excellent Rihanna song. The girl is a neurosurgeon. No, she's not. She's a neuroscientist. And like, that's about the brain, and it's a romance book. I never give you a synopsis, and I'm not going to. Like, just read it. I have a birthday book haul coming soon, and this book is part of it. It's the next book that I read, but I do want it in paperback, so we're getting a bit of a sneak peek. You've got a sneak peek in like my last video as well, but like, you're getting another sneak peek right now to a book that I'm going to mention in that book haul. I'm just waiting for 2 books to come, but I might just wait for 1 book to come. I might just not wait and film it next. I don't know. Anyways, the next book I read was Hookshot by Kennedy Ryan. This is the 3rd and final final full-length novel that is part of the Hoops trilogy. This book follows a couple introduced to in book 1, and it's very much insta-lovey in book 1, like, but we finally get to their book here. This is Keenan and Lotus's book. Lotus is the sister of Iris, who is in book 1 Longshot, aka one of my favourites of all time. Oh my god, I love Longshot, and so I was so excited to get into this series, but this book and the second book just kind of fell flat. I really didn't like Blockshot. I gave that one, at the time, I gave it 3 stars. After reading this one, I put that one down to 2 stars. I gave this one 3 stars. This one, honestly, this was a good book, but it just didn't work for me all the time. And you're probably wondering why I got it in paperback. I got it in paperback whilst I was reading it, because I was like, I want to own the collection, and I thought I was going to like this one, but it was average. But I'm so happy to own these books, because these are like the indie ones, the tall paperbacks. Like, if you own the indie version of Off Campus, it's like that high, and I love tall books. Oh my god, tall books just look really pretty on the shelf. I'm so happy to own it. Sorry, I love tall books. I'm so happy to own it. Anyways, Keenan is a basketball player. I think he's retired by the time this book is around. I'm pretty sure he's retired. I don't even know where Lotus works, but they end up having to work together, because I'm pretty sure he's like sponsored by the brand that she works at. I literally don't know. This book kind of like left my mind as soon as I finished reading it, so sorry about it. 2 more books, guys. We're nearly done. 2 more books. The next book I read is a new release. This is Playing Games by Riley Hart. This is the first book in a brand new romance series called Franklin You. There are 8 books and they're coming out weekly, so like I'm gonna try read them as soon as they come out. But this is the first book. It's a new release, new adult, college, enemies to lovers, but also enemies with benefits, romance, and it's also sports romance. One of the guys in this book plays lacrosse. Very tropey, very low angst, very fun. Loved it so much. This is such a good introduction to the series, and now I'm so excited to continue. This is a series that is set in the same like university, but it's all written by different authors, so it's like companion novels written by different authors in this like shared universe. I am so excited. The second book is by Saxon James, and if you don't know, Saxon James wrote Egotistical Punk Boy, one of my favourite romances of all time, so I'm so excited for their book. Eden Finley also has a book. I'm excited for theirs as well. But yeah, Playing Games, Riley Hart. The one who plays lacrosse is called Tyson. Tyson, rich boy. His dad has like paid the university loads and loads of money. He's kind of got the university wrapped around his finger, kind of. He's expected to follow in his dad's footsteps to like take over his family like business, but he doesn't want to. Then we've got Braxton, who's like from the other side, like on the opposite side of the spectrum. He's not rich, bad boy-esque kind of person. His dad's in jail. His brother's kind of following in the same footsteps, and he just wants to make a better life for himself, but he has to work harder than anyone else. Kind of like that storyline. The banter in this book is absolutely incredible, top tier. This book was absolutely incredible. This book was so cute, so sweet. If you like romances, please give this one a go. My favourite scene in this book, this isn't a spoiler, my favourite scene in the book is when they're like smoking weed on Braxton's bed. It's just so cute. It's so sweet. Oh, I loved it. The final book that I read this month, Fragile Longing by Cora Riley. This book is a standalone, but it's part of the universe that the Bonneville Mafia Chronicles and the Camorra Chronicles take part in. I would say if you want to read this book, it's kind of not necessarily needed, but I would say required reading. You should read Twisted Pride by Cora Riley as well, because the heroine in Fragile Longing is the sister of the heroine in Twisted Pride. In Twisted Pride, the main girl is called Serafina, and her storyline is she gets kidnapped on her wedding day, but she's supposed to marry this guy called Danilo. She gets kidnapped. She doesn't end up marrying Danilo. Who does Danilo end up marrying? Serafina's sister, Sophia. So it is an arranged marriage, age gap. Basically, Danilo is still not really over Serafina. He's kind of annoyed that Serafina won't marry him. He doesn't want to get with Serafina's sister. He wants to get with someone from their family because they're like high ranked in the mafia world, but he wanted it to be Serafina, and since it's not Serafina, he's kind of got he's a bit annoyed about it. Sophia, however, has always had a crush on Danilo. Even when he was supposed to get married to her sister, she always had a crush on him. So she's like living her best life. Except when she finds out that he doesn't want her. That was a bad explanation. This book was good. I gave it 3 stars. So that is it. Thank you for being here with me. I've been sat here for nearly an hour, but obviously this video is going to be edited down a ton. I hope you guys all enjoyed. If you read any of the books that I mentioned today, tell me what you thought about them. But if you enjoyed this video, please give a like. Subscribe if you like romance books, because I plan on making more videos about them. Yeah, I will see you another time. See you later. Goodbye.